ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Namaskar, my dear friends. I am making this video on a very important holy book by Adi Shankracharya, Approkshanubhuti, non-indirect realization of Atma. So I will start this. Such treatises as aim at serving as introductions to a more advanced study of a system of philosophy are generally known as Prakarana Granthas. Besides giving an outline of the system, each of them emphasizes some one or other of the main features. Approkshanubhuti is one such little manual which, while presenting a brief description of Vedanta, deals specially with that aspect of it which relates to the realization, anubhuti of the highest truth. Such realization, unlike the knowledge of objects through sense perception or inference, is an immediate and direct perception of one's own self, which is here indicated by the word approkshanubhuti. Approksa. The central theme of the book is the identity of the Jivatma, individual self, and Paramatman, universal self. This identity is realized through the removal of the ignorance that hides the truth by the light of vichara or inquiry alone. To enable the mind to embark on such an investigation into truth, certain disciplines are laid down, which are not peculiar to Vedanta but are indispensable for all such inquiries into the highest truth. The book then gives a description of one who has attained this realization and of the nature of his life. Then follows a discussion on prarabdha, the momentum of past action. The author contended that after realization, when ignorance with all its effects entirely disappears, the question of the survival of the body for working out prarabdha is altogether out of place, and the Shruti sometimes speaks of it only to explain to the ignorant the apparent behavior of a man of realization who, so far as he himself is concerned, is ever immersed in the supreme truth. Verses 100 to 129 deal specially with the 15 stages through which the seeker after truth passes, which, by the way, are similar to those experienced by a Raj Yogi, but the two are entirely different. Then is the oneness of cause and effect, the absolute and the manifested universe, which is wound up with the culminating thought of the Vedanta philosophy that all that is visible and invisible is in reality the one eternal Atma, which is pure consciousness. Verse 141. The authorship of the book is generally attributed to Sri Shankracharya. Even if this be disputed, the teachings are undoubtedly Advaitic. To those, therefore, who have neither the time nor the opportunity to go through the classical works of Shankracharya, a treatise like the present one will be an invaluable, invaluable guide in their quest after spiritual truths. It may be mentioned here that verse 89 to 98 occur with slight variations also in the Nada Bindu Upanishad, that is stanza from 21 to 29 and verses 100 to 136, 100 and 142 in the Teja Bindu Upanishad, stanza from 15 to 15. Translations of the book into English and some Indian vernaculars have already been published, but the need having been expressed by some beginners for word equivalents and notes in English, a fresh attempt is being made to meet these requirements. The author acknowledges his indebt to the existing translations as well as to the commentary of Vidyarna. It is hoped that the book will be of use to those for whom it is intended. This book is translated by Swami Vimuktananda of Ramakrishna Mission. So now I start the main book, Approkshanubhuti or self-realization. First stanza. Sri Hari Paramanandmo Upadeshtar Meeswaram Vyapakam Sarvalokanam Karnam Tenamamehem. This is the first sloka or stanza. So I will recite the Sanskrit sloka, then I will straightway go to the translation part and explanation if any. The meanings are given. So English translation says, I bow down to him, to Sri Hari, the destroyer of ignorance, the supreme bliss, the first teacher, Ishvara, the all-pervading one and the cause of all lokas, the universe. I, the ego, the jiva in bondage, who identifies himself with the grossest, subtle and causal bodies, undergoes various sufferings and strives for liberation. The cause, the efficient as well as the material cause, just as a spider weaves its net from the materials of its own body, so does Ishvara creates this universe out of himself. Stanza number 2. Aproksha anubhutirve prochayate moksha siddhaye sadvirev paryaten vikshaniya muhurmuhu. Herein is expounded the means of attaining to aproksha anubhuti, self-realization for the acquisition of final liberation. Only the pure in heart should constantly and with all effort meditate upon the truth herein taught. Aproksha Anubhuti, it is the direct cognition of the Atma which is always present in all thought. Everybody has some knowledge of this Atma or self. For to deny the self is to deny one's own existence. But at first, its real nature is not known. Later on, when the mind becomes purer through upasana and tapas, the veil of ignorance is gradually withdrawn and the self begins to reveal its real nature. A higher knowledge follows at an advanced stage when the knowledge of the self as mere witness is seen as absorbing all other thoughts. But the end is not yet reached. The idea of duality, such as I am the witness, I and the witness, is still persisting. It is only at the last stage when the knower and the known merge in the self effulgent Atma, which alone ever is, and besides which nothing else exists, that the culmination is reached. This realization of the non-dual is the consummation of Approkshanubhuti. It is needless to say that Approkshanubhuti may here mean also the work that deals with it. Third stanza. Sabvarnasram dharmen tapsa haritoshanat sadhanam param prabhavet pusham vairagyadi chatushtayam. The four preliminary qualifications, the means to the attainment of knowledge, such as vairagya, dispassion, and the like, are acquired by man by propitiating Hari, the Lord, through austerities and the performance of duties pertaining to their social order and stage in life. The four preliminary qualifications. These are Vairagyam, dispassion, Vivekah, discrimination, Samadhi, Sat Sampati. Six treasures such as Sama, the control of the mind, and the like, and Mumukshutvam, yearning for liberation from the bondage of ignorance. Stanza number 4. Dharmahadi sathavar antesu vairagyam vishesh vasnu yathiyav kak vishesthayam vairagyam tadvi nirmalam. The indifference with which one treats the excreta of a crow, such an indifference to all objects of enjoyment from the realm of Brahma to this world, in view of their perishable nature, is verily called pure vairagya. Pure vairagya. One may be indifferent to the enjoyments of this world only in expectation of better enjoyments in the next day. This kind of indifference is tainted with desires which bar the door to knowledge, but the indifference that results from a due deliberation on the evanescent nature of this world as well as the world to come is alone pure and productive of the highest good. Stanza number 5. Nityam atam svarupam hi drishyam tad vipreetagam evam yo nischah samyag viveko vastune savai. Atma, the seer, in itself is alone permanent. The seen is opposed to it, that is transient. Such a settled conviction is truly known as discrimination. Atma, in this ever changing world, there is one changeless being as witness of these changes. This permanent, ever seeing being is Atma, the seen. This comprises everything other than Atma, such as objects of the senses, the mind, and the buddhi. Stanza number 6. सदैव वासना त्याग समो ये मिति शब्दितः निग्रहो बाह्यव्यर्थिनां दम इत्यभिधीयते. Abandonment of desires at all times is called sama, and restraint of the external functions of the organ is called dama. Abandonment of desires, previous impressions that are lying dormant in the mind, as well as the contact of the mind with the external objects, give rise to desires. To abandon all desires is to disassociate the mind from these two sets of stimuli. Stanza number 7. विषेद है परावृत्ति परमो परतिर्हि सा सहनम सर्व दुखानां तितिक्षा सा शुभा मतः. Turning away completely from all sense objects is the height of uprati, and patient endurance of all sorrow or pain is known as titiksha, which is conducive to happiness. Uparti. Apparently, Uparti differs very little from Sama and Dama, yet there is a difference. While practicing Sama and Dama, there is an effort to restrain the mind's outgoing propensities. But in Uparati, the equipoise of the mind becomes spontaneous and there is no further striving to gain it. Stanza number 8. निगमाचार्य वाकेशु भक्ति शर्धेति विश्रुता चित्तैकाग्रम तु सुलक्षये समाधानमिति समर्थम. Implicit faith in the words of the Vedas and the teachers who interpret them is known as Shraddha, and concentration of the mind on the only object Sattva, that is Brahma, is regarded as Samadhana. Stanza number 9. संसार बंधन निर्मुक्तिं कथम मे सयात कदे विधे इति या सुदृढ़ता बुद्धिर्वक्त्वा सा मुमुक्षुत्वा. When and how shall I, O Lord, be free from the bonds of this world, that is births and deaths? Such a burning desire is called mumukshutva. Mumukshuta, this is the fourth sadhana. With this, the student becomes fit to make an inquiry into the highest truth, that is Brahma. It is now an accepted principle even in the scientific world that a student in search of knowledge should free himself from all his predispositions and keep an unbiased mind ready to receive whatever is true. The four sadhanas here inculcated are nothing but a course of discipline to attain to such a state of mind. Stanza number 10. उक्त साधना युक्तेन विचारः पुरुषेण हि कर्तव्यो ज्ञान सिद्धर आत्मनं शुभमिच्छिता. Only that person who is in possession of the said qualifications as means to knowledge should constantly reflect with a view to attaining knowledge, desiring his own good. Should constantly reflect after a person has attained the tranquility of the mind through sadhanas, he should strive hard to maintain the same by constantly reflecting on the evanescent nature of this world and without dwelling on the highest truth till he becomes one with it. Good, the highest good, that is liberation from the bondage of ignorance. Stanza number 11. नोत्पद्यते बिना ज्ञानम विचारेण अन्य साधनै यथा पदार्थ भानम ही प्रकाशेन विना कंचितः. Knowledge is not brought about by any other means than vichara, just as an object is nowhere perceived, seen, without the help of light. By any other means, by karma, upasana, and the like. It is ignorance or avidya which has withheld the light of knowledge from us. To get at knowledge, therefore, we have to remove this avidya. But so long as we are engaged in karma or upasana, we remain under its sway. It is only when we make an inquiry into the real nature of this avidya that is gradually withdraws and at last vanishes, then alone knowledge shines. Stanza number 12. Ko aham katham idam jatam ko vai karta se vidyate upadanam kimasti hi vichara soyam dissaha. Who am I? How is this world created? Who is its creator? Of what material is this world made? This is the way of that vichara inquiry. Who am I? We know that we are, but we do not know what our real nature is. In the waking state, we think that we are the body, the physical being, and consequently feel ourselves strong or weak, young or old. At another time, in the dream state, regardless of the physical existence, we remain only in a mental state where we are merely thinking beings and feel only the misery or happiness that our thoughts create for us. Again, in deep sleep, we enter into a state where we cannot find the least trace of any such attribute whereby we can either assert or deny our existence. We pass through these states almost daily and yet do not know which of them conforms to our real nature. So the question, who am I, is always with us an unsolved riddle. It is therefore necessary to investigate into it. This is the way of that vichara. It is said in the preceding sloka that knowledge is attainable by no other means but vichara, or an inquiry into the truth. Herein is inculcated in detail the method of such an inquiry. Stanza number 13. न अहम भूत गणो देहो न हम चाक्ष गण सत्ता एतद दिव लक्षण कश्चिद्द्वार च सोऽयं मीदृशः. I am neither the body, a combination of the five elements of matter, nor I am aggregate of the senses. I am something different from these. This is the way of that vichara. I am neither the body. This body has its origin in insentient matter, and as such it is devoid of consciousness. If I be the body, I should be unconscious, but by no means I am so. Therefore, I cannot be the body. Stanza number 14. अज्ञान पर भवम सर्वम ज्ञानेन परविलीयते संकल्प हो विविध कर्ता विचार है सोयम द्विविस्सह. Everything is produced by ignorance and dissolves in the wake of knowledge. The various thoughts, modifications of Antakarna must be the creator. Such is this vichara. Everything is produced by ignorance. In a reply to question in Sloka 12, as to the cause of this world, it is here said that ignorance is the cause of everything. Sometimes, seeing something coiled up on the road, we mistake it for a snake and shrink back out of fear. But afterwards, when we discover that it is nothing but a piece of rope, the question arises in the mind as to the cause of the appearance of the snake. On inquiry, we find that the cause of it lies nowhere else than in our ignorance of the true nature of the rope. So also the cause of the phenomenal world that we see before us lies in the ignorance or maya that covers the reality. The various thoughts, the creator, the only thing that we are directly aware of is our own thoughts. The world that we see before us is what our thoughts have created for us. This is clearly understood when we analyze our experiences in dreams. There, the so called material world is altogether absent, and yet the thoughts alone create a world which is as material as the world now before us. It is therefore held that the whole universe is in the same way but a creation of our thoughts. Stanza number 15. एतयोर्यदुपानामेकं सूक्ष्मं सद्वयमं यथैव मृद्घटादीनां विचारः सोऽयमिद्वयः. The material cause of these two, that is the ignorance and the thought, is the one without a second, subtle, not apprehended by the senses, and unchanging Sattva existence, just as the earth is the material cause of the pot and the like. This is the way of that vichara. One, because it does not admit of a second of the same or of a different kind or of any parts within itself. It is one homogeneous whole. अहम एको अपि सूक्ष्म च ज्ञाता साक्षी सद्व्यः तद अहम नात्र संदेहो विचारः सोयम मी दृश्यः. As I am also the one, the subtle the knower, the witness, the ever existent, and the unchanging, so there is no doubt that I am that is Brahma. Such is this inquiry. The knower, the supreme knower who is ever present in all our perceptions as consciousness and who perceives even the ego. When I say I know that I exist, the I of the clause that I exist forms a part of the predicate, and as such it cannot be the same I which is the subject. This predicative I is the ego, the object. The subjective I is the supreme knower. I am that I, the ego, when stripped of all its limiting adjuncts such as the body and the like, becomes one with that, the supreme ego, that is Brahma. In fact, it is always Brahma, its limitation being but the creation of ignorance. Stanza number 17. आत्मा विनिस्फलो हैको देहो बहुभीरावृतः तयोरेकं पर्पशन्ति किं ज्ञानमतः परम्. Atma is verily one and without parts, whereas the body consists of many parts, and yet the people confound these two as one. What else can be called ignorance but this? What else can be called ignorance but this? To give rise to confusion in knowledge is a unique characteristic of ignorance. It is through the influence of ignorance that one confounds a rope with a snake, a mother of pearl with a piece of silver, and so on. But after all, the power of ignorance is not completely manifest there, for one could easily find an excuse for such confusions when there exist some common characteristics between the real and the apparent. The nature of ignorance is, however, fully revealed when one confounds the subject, that is Atma, with the object, that is the body, which have nothing in common between them, being opposed to each other in all respects. Stanza number 18. आत्मा नियमाकं कश्चान्त देहो बाह्यो नियम्यकम् तयोरेकं पर्पशन्ति किं ज्ञानमतः परम्. Atma is the ruler of the body and internal. The body is the ruled and external, and yet, etc. Stanza number 19. आत्मा ज्ञान में है पुण्यो देहो मासमयो शुचिः तयोर एकम पर्पशन्ति किम ज्ञानमतः परम्. Atma is all consciousness and holy. The body is all flesh and impure, and yet, etc. Stanza number 20. Atma prakashakah savcho dehastamasah uchyate tayor ekam prapashanti kim jnanamatah param. Atma is the supreme illuminator and purity itself. The body is said to be of the nature of darkness, and yet, etc. Stanza number 21. Atma nityo hi सद्भूपो देहो नित्य हो हवास हवासन में है तयोर एकम प्रपशंति किम ज्ञानमत है परम Atma is eternal since it is existence itself. The body is transient as it is non-existence in a sense and yet etc. The body is non-existence in a sense. The body is undergoing change at every moment and as such cannot be eternal. But granting that it is non-eternal, how can it be non-existent for so long as it lasts? We surely see it as existing. At first sight, the body appears to be existing, however temporary its existence may be. A relative existence, Vyavaharika Satta, is therefore ascribed to it. But when one examines it and tries to find out its real nature, this so-called tangible body gradually becomes attenuated and at last disappears altogether. It is therefore said here that the body as such is always non-existent, and even though it may appear as existing for a time to those who do not care to see it through. Stanza number 22. Atman satat prakashya tattvam yat padarth vabhasanam नागने आदित्य वदिर्भव ताधन्य यतो निशिः. The luminosity of Atma consists in the manifestation of all objects. Its luminosity is not like that of fire or any such thing, for in spite of the presence of such lights, darkness prevails at night at some place or other. Its luminosity is not etc. The light of Atma is unlike any other light. Ordinary lights are opposed to darkness and are limited in their capacity to illumine things. It is a common experience that where there is darkness, there is no light, and darkness always prevails at some place or other, thus limiting the power of illumination of such lights. Even the light of the sun is unable to dispel darkness at some places, but the light of Atma is ever present at all places. It illumines everything and is opposed to nothing, not even to darkness, for it is in and through the light of Atma, which is present in every body as consciousness, that one comprehends darkness as well as light and all other things. Stanza number 23. Deho Deho hami tayamam Deho hami tayam mudho dhritva tishtho janah ममायति नित्यपि ज्ञात्वा घटद्रष्टेवः सर्वदा. How strange is it that a person ignorantly rests contented with the idea that he is the body while he knows it as something belonging to him and therefore apart from him, even as a person who sees a pot knows it as apart from him. The idea that he is the body, this is the view of Lokayatikas, Indian materialist, who maintain that man is no more than a fortuitous concourse of material elements. According to them, the five elements of matter, through permutations and combinations, have given birth to this body as well as to life and consciousness, and with death everything will dissolve into matter again. Stanza number 24. ब्रह्मवाहं समः शांत सच्चिदानंद लक्षण नाहं देहो हवस्सद्रूपो ज्ञानं तुच्यते बुद्धि. I am verily Brahma, being equanimous, quiescent, and by nature absolute existence, knowledge and bliss. I am not the body, which is non-existence itself. This is called true knowledge by the wise. I am verily Brahma. I, the self or Atma, is Brahma, as there is not even a single characteristics differentiating the two. In other words, there are no two entities as Atma and Brahma. It is the same entity Atma that is sometimes called Brahma. When a person makes an inquiry into the real nature of this external world, he is led to one ultimate reality which he calls Brahma. But an inquiry into the nature of the inquirer himself reveals the fact that there is nothing but the Atma, the self, wherefrom the so-called external world has emanated. Thus he realizes that what he so long called Brahma, the substratum of the universe, is but his own self. It is he himself, so it is said, all this is verily Brahma. This Atma is Brahma. Mandukya Upanishad, chapter 2. Stanza number 2. I am not the body, I am neither the gross, subtle, nor the causal body. Stanza number 25. Nirvikaro, nirakaro, nirvadyo ham veh, na ham deho, haiswadrupo jnanam tuchyate buddhi. I am without any change, without any form, free from all blemish and decay. I am not, etc. Stanza number 26. Niramayo, nirabhaso, nirvikalpo, hammatatah, naham deho, havasasdrupo, jnanam tuchyate buddhi. I am not subject to any disease. I am beyond all comprehension, free from all alternatives and all pervading. I am not, etc. I am beyond all comprehension. I am not comprehended by any thought, for in the Supreme Atma, no thought, the thought of the subject and the object, the knower and the known, not even the thought of the self and the non-self is possible, as all thought implies a duality, whereas the Atma is non-dual. Nirguna, niskriyo, nityo, nityamukto, ham chatah, na ham deho, havasdrupo, jnanam tu chate buddhi. I am without any attribute or activity. I am eternal, ever free and imperishable. I am not, etc. Stanza number 28. Nirmalo Nistralontah Shuddho Hamjaro Amrah Naham Deho Hayasdrupo Jnanmi Tuchyate Buddhi. I am free from all impurity. I am immovable, unlimited, holy, undecaying, and immortal. I am not, etc. Stanza number 29. Savdehe Shohenam Santam Purushakyam Cha Samtam Kim Murak Sunya Atmanam Dehatitam Krosi Bho. O you ignorant one, why do you assert the blissful, ever existent Atma which resides in your own body and is evidently different from it, which is known as Purusa and is established by the Shruti as identical with Brahma to be absolutely non existent? Why do you assert absolutely non-existent in the preceding stanzas when all the attributes that the human mind can conceive of have been denied of Atma? One is naturally assailed by the doubt whether such an Atma at all exists. To remove this doubt, it is here said that Atma is a fact of everybody's experience, and as such, its existence cannot be challenged. Therefore, there is no reason to call it Sunya or absolute non existence. Stanza number 30. Sav Atmanam Renu Murkhatvam Shrutaya Yuktichaya Cha Purusham Dehatitam Sadakaram Sudurdarsham Bhavadrshahi. O you ignorant one, try to know with the help of Shruti and reasoning your own self Purusha, which is different from the body, not a void, but the very form of existence, and very difficult for persons like you to realize. With the help of Shruti, with the help of such a Shruti text as subtler than this Atma, that is the body which is full of flesh and blood, there is another Atma. Taittiriya Upanishad, chapter 2, stanza 2, it is thus clearly stated that the Atma, which is sometimes mistaken for the body, is in fact quite different from it. Persons like you, persons of your caste of mind, who on account of their great attachment to the body, overlook the vital difference which exists between the body and the Atman and blindly assert their identity. Stanza number 31. अहम शब्देन विख्यात एक एव स्थितः परः सतुल सत्वन कताम प्राप्तः कथम सा शहाद्य पुमान. The Supreme Purusha known as I, ego, is but one, whereas the gross bodies are many, so how can this body be Purusha? Stanza number 32. Aham drishtaya siddho deho drishtaya siddhatah mamayamiti nirdeshat katham shadehakah puman. I, ego, is well established as the subject of perception, whereas the body is the object. This is learned from the fact that when we speak of the body, we say, this is mine. So how can this body be Purusha? This is mine. That is, the body is something which I possess and therefore external to me. So there is not the least chance of its being identified with me. That is Atma. Stanza number 33. Aham vikarhinamastu deho nityam vikarman iti patvyate saksat katham shadhakah puman. It is a fact of direct experience that the I, Atma is without any change, whereas the body is always undergoing changes. So how can this body be Purusha? The I, Atma is without any change in happiness or misery, in childhood, youth or old age. Atma, in spite of many changes in the body, remains the same. As how do we recognize a person to be the same? Man again and again, even though his body and mind have undergone a thorough change. Stanza number 34. Yasmat parmiti sritva taya prus lakshmanam. Vinir vinirnita vimudhen katham shadehaka puman. Wise men have ascertained the real nature of Purusha from the Shruti text. There is nothing higher than he, Purusha, etc. So how can this body be Purusha? From the Shruti text, the text occurs in the Sveta Sutara Upanishad, chapter 3, stanza 9 as follows. There is nothing higher, subtler or greater than this Purusha who stands in the luminous sphere, supremely unique and immovable, like a tree and by whom all this creation is filled. Stanza number 35. Sarva Purusah Aveti Sukte Purus Sangite Apyuchate Yatah Shrutta Katham Shadehaka Puman. Again, the Shruti has declared in the Purusha Sukta that all this is verily the Purusha. So how can this body be Purusha? The Purusha Sukta, it forms a part of the Rig Veda. There we find one of the highest conceptions of the cosmic being, where from this universe has emanated. The text here referred to is this. The Purusha is verily all this manifested world. He is all that was in the past and that will be in the future. He is the Lord of the abode of bliss and has taken this transient form of the manifested universe so that the jivas may undergo the effects of their actions. Rig Veda, chapter 10, stanza 19. Second. So here I stop this video. So please share this video, like, comment and subscribe the channel. Thanks. Namaskar my dear friends. Namaskar.